Hello to everyone and welcome to presentation number 2, which is the 5200 note instruction and a 3-year plan for the MIC program. Today we're going to quickly talk about accessible and subaccessible units and the MIC process itself, the 3-year plan and the 5200 note instruction, steps 1 and 2 of the MIC process. So I know we've heard the term a lot, but just wanted to clarify for those that might be new to the program or don't have a clear understanding of it. What is an accessible unit? By definition, a process, function, or program that's significant to an organization's mission. So for CNAP, that would include things like the encodes, the CDNs, or other Ech IV Commands. And a subaccessible unit is a process, a function, or a program within that AU that's significant to the AU's mission. So for example, N42 could have 2 or 3 or 4 subaccessible units, and one of those could be aviation maintenance or aviation maintenance training. So there is an associated checklist with aviation maintenance and aviation maintenance training. So when the subject matter experts are going through and taking a look at their area, they use that checklist to determine whether or not they're doing things the way that they should be doing. And the sum total of those 3 sub-AUs determine whether or not an accessible unit has controls in place or not. So they have 3 subaccessible units, and all 3 of those subaccessible units are doing well, then the overall accessible unit can say that they're doing well as well. For something like a ship like the CVN 76 that might have many subaccessible units because they have many different processes on the ships, one of those could be metrology and calibration. And so the same process, if there's a lot of errors amongst all their subaccessible units, then we could probably say that there's an issue that needs to be addressed, and if everything seems to be going well amongst all the sub-AUs, then we can say the controls are in place. Note that an accessible unit is required to do a statement of insurance. So the accessible unit in code N42 would be required to do a statement of insurance. The processes underneath that, the sub-accessible units, would not be required to do a statement of insurance. And the picture below down here is a snapshot of the 3-year plan. That 3-year plan is satisfies, that is a mandatory inventory that's required for every MIC program, and that 3-year plan satisfies that mandatory requirement because it has all of the accessible units and subaccessible units for CNAP. So to kind of walk through the first couple of steps of the process, it's pretty easy and pretty quick. Right around the May time frame, I develop a draft 5200 that has all of the AUs in it, and then I also have a draft 3-year plan. So prior to my sending that out, I'll have talked to the Chief of Staff to determine what the commands focus is for the year, and those will be included in the mandatory sub-AUs that I send out to everyone. But once I talk to the cause and to the Inspector General, I come up with those 2 draft documents and I submit them out to the MIC coordinators. The MIC coordinators go ahead and take a look at those and revise what may need to be revised, and they go ahead and shoot that back to me with their revisions, which I compile into one CNAP file. To access these files, you'll go to examples and templates, and then blank templates and forms, and there'll be a 5200 make plan template. There'll also be there'll also be a file in here for the 3-year plan for whatever the designated year is. So the first thing that you will do when you get the document from the office is that you'll go ahead and drill down to your particular accessible unit. So you'll filter out this spreadsheet and go down to your particular unit, and then from that point you'll determine whether or not everything that should be there is there, and if there's some things there that should not be there, processes that you don't have, you'll make those corrections and resubmit the file back to us when you're done with your 5200 note or plan. Like I mentioned before, there's no note for encodes. It's just for echelon 4 units. So the simplest way to do this is to do the 3-year plan and review the 3-year plan first, and then from that point you'll have the data that you need to populate your accessible units and sub-accessible units. So what we have here is the 3-year plan. 3-year plan is just a spreadsheet that shows all of the different AUs and SubAUs, and it is a complete list for all the units. So when you look at it, obviously there'll be stuff in there that doesn't belong to you, so the easiest way to do that is just to filter out down to your particular unit. So you do that by going into the encode / subordinate activity column, and you hit the drop down, take off the select all, and then choose your particular unit. Once you do that, what we'd like you to do is make sure that information is accurate. Do we have everything that does belong to you? And if there's some stuff that does not belong to you, or that you don't have that process, you can remove that. And then making sure the information is right, such as the MIC coordinator, who the function POC is, who is going to be that person that actually is doing the checklist for that particular sub-AU. The IC reporting categories we will complete, but the highest governing regulation and any supplemental regulation that relates to that sub-AU, we'd like that information as well. The thought process being that at some point there is a command inspection program that may or may not materialize, but if it does, we want this document to be the central focus so we don't have to reinvent the wheels on a lot of things. Then you have the assessed risk. And the assessed risk, we took that from the latest risk assessment that we had for your organization. So it's either a medium, high, or a low. And this means that the probability or the importance of that area to use either high, medium, or low, and if something failed, how critical is it to the success of that AU and sub-AU. So it also ties into how frequently we're going to do assessments. So if it is a medium risk, or if it's a high risk, it's going to be done every year, such as you see right here. If it's a medium risk, it's every second year, and if it's a low risk, it's every third year. And so if it's a area that is highly controlled, a lot of regulations, a good control environment, and it's a relatively low risk to the organization, then there's no sense in looking at it every year. So we are going to show an example of this. If I change that to high, the way the spreadsheet is set up now, notice that it says you need to look at that in the first, second, and third years of the plan. If it's a medium, it goes to the second year, and if it's a low, it goes to the third year. So there is a couple of overrides for this, though. If, for example, if it's a low risk here, but the local commander wants to look at it every year anyway, you can mark that block and it'll change it to all 3 years. Or if it's not a local commander, but CNAP, the IG wants to look at it, or the commander wants to look at it here every year, mark that block, it also goes to every year. So the big thing about this is that it's going to reduce the administrative workload. It's going to take away that requirement to do everything all year, so it's going to be risk-based. So hopefully that's going to make the reviews that we get every year more comprehensive, because you're going to have more time to do the reviews better, and it's going to allow us to focus on things that are important here with at CNAP, and for your command to focus on things that are important to it as well. So it's just that simple. The second page of it is a legend. It explains exactly what we just talked about, to allow you to hopefully do this seamlessly. But of course, if you have any questions, just make sure to let us know. So that, in a nutshell, is a 3-year plan. Final portion of this is the 5200 note and instruction. So once you're done with all of the 3-year plan stuff, that is the basis for you to do your 5200 instruction and note, if it's applicable. It's only, like I said before, it's only required for not required for encodes, but everyone else it is. The enclosure in there, you have to make sure that you have a list of your sub-accessible units, which you'll notice here, and then your schedule of events, which you'll notice here. And that gives me a timeline for when you plan on reviewing your accessible units, and I can make my adjustments for when I want to do quarter reviews of different AUs and sub-AUs. That's it for the 5200 and for the 3-year plan. It's pretty straightforward, but of course, if you have any problems or any questions, just feel free to give us a call.